Hello, YouTube. This is an alcohol review of Lifted Spirits Wheat Whiskey. According to the label, crafted with 100% wheat, subtle complexities, cellared in Missouri white oak, 750 ml bottle, 42% alcohol by volume, 84 proof, distilled from head and heart. Alrighty. According to the back, carefully curated ingredients, our handcrafted spirits lift up our community, creating unique experiences with evocative flavors, driven by curiosity, designed by bartenders, and enjoyed by all. That's nice. From the heart of the empire. I have to check this place out. I think I have an idea where it's located. There's a lot of smaller and smaller a lot of small distilleries opening up all over the place, and I might be able to track this one down. I think it's too far away. What I've been wanting to go to, their hours are just odd, and I can't seem to find the time to get to it. They're the creators of Stonebreaker and other Irish style whiskeys. Now, this is a wheat whiskey, from what I just read to you, obviously. The whiskey is a generic term for a rather specific drink. So if you go to Scotland, where there's Scotch, that is a whiskey, but it's a whiskey. It is a Scotch because of certain ingredients that have been added in or at certain levels, which make it a Scotch. In this case, we're talking about peat and how that handles some of the other ingredients and the smokiness that it gets in, and so forth and so on. Usually, a whiskey has a very specific mash bill. Now, this separates it from a bourbon in that a bourbon is a whiskey, but 50% or more of the ingredient in the mash bill must be corn, as well as it must be aged in brand new charred white oak American barrels. There's a time period for it to age, all these things. But if you go to Ireland, if you go to Canada, they'll have varying laws on their whiskeys too, which you would think would confine the artistic of the distiller, but it really creates a unique boundaries of what is a Canadian versus a Irish versus a wheat whiskey. From what little I understand of these sorts of things, I'm sure somebody out there knows a heck of a lot more. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee you, there's a lot of you out there who know a lot more about this than I. But a wheat whiskey obviously pushes how much wheat is in the mash bill itself. I'm willing to bet no rye or anything, because that would be your rye whiskeys. I find wheat to have its own, a wheat heavy mash bill, have its own oddities in its flavor compared to a Kentucky whiskey, Kentucky bourbon, I should say, or some other form of whiskey out there. Give it a try. It's an interesting realm in that it's subtle when you got the wheat whiskey by itself, but when you have it standing there with other whiskeys, including a bourbon or two, it colors really do shine. Not necessarily negatively, but worth experimenting, worth trying. So grab a bunch of buddies, or hell, by yourself and no one cares. Remember, you're not drinking alone if the dog's in the house. You give it a try, see what you think. Now, this is Lifted Spirits Wheat Whiskey. And we have a nice caramel with yellow and red hues. Not bad. can't tell whether it's my glass dirty or whether there's a contamination, a fog in it. I wonder. But from there, and what I'm seeing here, both tend to have a bit of a fog. Now, why is this a thing? What is this a deal? Usually, when you go to this level of production, the pros, you're going to find that there is a filtration system that's very high end, very well done. If there's a fog in it, crappy filtration, poorly thought out, no quality corrected it, or this is something they want the fog in. The fog is from the yeast that's still remaining, and it provides its own flavor profile. When that is added back in again, because through the distilling process it's one of the ways to take it out. So I'm not sure exactly when you would add or how it would remain, but there are some whiskeys out there who the fog is a thing. Not very many, but there are out there. All right, to our swirl. And we look at the line. It takes a while to run. Those crags, the tearing, or the legs, it takes a bit for it to form, implying that there is a heavy amount of sugar residual in solution. It also implies that with that sugar, it's going to be on the sweet side. It also implies it's going to be on the syrupy side. Oranges and bananas. And whiskey. What a shock. But a good fruit profile in the nose. Not a whole lot of burn or anything into it. Matter of fact, none at all. Yeah, if there's any, it is extremely faint. Which is deceived. It's got a nice, if you want to call it nice, burn to it already. A bit of a fire in the belly. So it's definitely proving its striped with 86 proof. Odd that it didn't have it in the nose. Always got that cough. Yeah, a nice, light, but continual bite. There is the ethanol from the alcohol, to my palate, tastes like burnt rubber. And it has that, of course, obviously. It's 86. But it's not too bad. It's tucked away. Other whiskeys I've had, it's up front or mixed in hard with the rest of the flavors. Not so much with this. Very mellow, very nice. It definitely lets you know that it is of that level of 86 proof. It's not hiding that at all. Orange. Bit of a smokiness that I'm not expecting. Missouri white oak. Well, technically, to make barrels waterproof, they do have to char the inside. So maybe that's where I'm getting the smokiness. Now, why is this an emphasis in bourbons? It is white oak. Missouri white oak. So there must be some lines you're not crossing that this would be a bourbon. Well, wheat. corn. There you go. But everything else seems to be on the bourbony side. So it's not bad. It is a nice sipping whiskey, but it has a lot of body to it. I'm surprised that the mouthfeel isn't syrupy. I'm surprised it's not very sweet, considering by the swirl look. You'd think it would be. As for would this be a good in a cocktail? Maybe, but not by a whole lot. As in a whole lot in volume into it. Where you would use a shot in some sort of cola, maybe a half a shot. It's got a very strong flavor, bit layered in there as well, that would definitely push down the weight in a cocktail. Does that make this a nice sipping? It is a good sipping whiskey. It's good to have neat. Like I said, it's the fact that it's mostly wheat gives it its own kind of. I wish I had a way to explain it. When you try it, you're gonna. This is an odd, especially in the back of the palate, where it really comes out. You say this is a rather odd whiskey versus other whiskeys that you've had, and that's because it's wheat. It does have, because of that body and a bit of a heaviness. I think this is a nice winter, early spring, late fall type of whiskey to sip. Definitely something when the snow's coming down. But it is not as heavy as others that I've recommended for wintertime. So I think this is a nice winter sipper, leaning towards the light end. Not by a whole lot, but leans towards the light end. See what you guys think. This is Wheat Whiskey by Lifted Spirits. Da-da. Here in the heart of the Empire. Any comments about this particular product down below? Be warmly accepted, as always. Or better yet, go out and buy it and try it and review it. Let the rest of us in the YouTube spirits community know your thoughts about Wheat Whiskey, Lifted Spirits. Lifted Spirits, Wheat Whiskey. Here we go. And as the neighbors zoom up and down the street, until next time, keep on drinking.